Hi, I'm Mark Stoudemire, and welcome to Season 3 of Get to the Joke. I can't wait for you guys to see what I have in store for you this season. 11 new comics, 11 new stories, unbelievable amount of just advice and just vulnerability about the lives of comedians and how that translates to the jokes that you love to hear on stage. Again, all the content this season will be completely free on my YouTube channel. I just ask that you do me just one small favor. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Please rate and review me wherever you review your podcast. I truly appreciate that you guys do that for me. Again, you can also visit me at my website, markstod.com, where you can see all my upcoming show dates, or any other content that I put out. Again, please leave a comment, like, subscribe to this channel. It means so much to me that you do that. And now, without further ado, let's go ahead and get to the joke.
For me, the worst time for me that I ever texted the wrong person, I texted by mistake, "Come over, I'm horny," to my cousin Sheila. Well, I apologize. I was like, "Sorry, cousin Sheila, that was actually meant for somebody else, so sorry you came all the way over here." Sheila, the poor thing is so lonely, you know?
All right, welcome back to Season 3 of Get to the Joke. Our guest today is Dan Naturman, one of my all-time favorite comics, who has appeared on America's Got Talent, The Late Show with Dave Letterman, The Conan O'Brien Show, along with the HBO popular series Crashing. He is one of the hosts of Live from the Table podcast that can be listened to on Sirius. He has an undergraduate degree from the University of Pennsylvania and a Juris Doctorate from the Fordham University School of Law. Dan has recently wrote Ira Spiro Before COVID, which is available on Amazon, and which I have here and highly recommend. Excellent book. If you're so inclined, you can view a few chapters for free on Amazon, but if you trust me, just buy the book. It's excellent. Welcome, Dan, to Get to the Joke. Thank you for being on today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm
coming to you so that the listeners know, you already know, from the island of Aruba. I'm in a Holiday Inn in Aruba.
That's awesome. Now, Aruba's not that big of a country, so what?
I'm not even sure it is a country. It's like part of Holland, sort of.
So, how have you been spending most of your time down in Aruba then?
Well, my friend Aruba, Ray Ellen, as he's known, produces a show down here. So at night we have the show.
Yeah.
In the ballroom here at the Holiday Inn.
Nice.
And by day I'm at the beach, which maybe you can see my tan. I don't know if this is going to be on video, just audio, but
it's on both.
I think you can. Yeah. So as you can see, I've been out in the sun.
Nice.
At the beach and whatever. Yeah.
Now, are you there for a week, or are you there for longer than a week?
I've been here for a week. No, I've been here for a week already, and I'm leaving Thursday, so I have to go back to New York. It's not even that cold there in New York. I don't think so.
That's awesome.
Because when you're in the Caribbean, you would prefer that it would be very cold in New York.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, I'm in Philly right now, not that far from New York, and it's been pouring rain all day today. So, not sure if the weather is the same in New York right now, but it's been miserable all day here. So, I kind of want to start out, Dan. Where I want to start is just appreciating your talents. You're sort of a renaissance man as far as the different careers and different points of interest that you have found much success in. I mean, just if you look at your education, going to an Ivy League school, going to law school, and completing it, even though you didn't practice, still two amazingly unbelievable schools. You're a successful comic. You've been on multiple platforms, radio, and television. You're probably a staple, I would say. You are a staple of the Comedy Cellar, probably the world's most renowned comedy club. And now you've written a book. So my first question to you is, what is your motivation to keep exploring different avenues? And then how do you keep persisting until you find success in them? I know it's a loaded question because it's across so many different fields, but where does that motivation come from?
Well, the motivation comes from, it's hard to get motivated sometimes. With the book, it was just something I hadn't done before, trying to find new challenges. I guess that's the answer to the question, is trying to find something new that you haven't done yet, and to challenge yourself with it. Because just to do stand up, like I'm always trying to write new jokes and do new stuff, but I've done stand up for a long time. So I like to explore other avenues. So that's where the book came in.
Well, the challenges that you like to go on, is it something that has been like, have you always liked to challenge yourself even as like a young boy, or is this something
that's something that really came more to me as an adult? I mean, maybe, unfortunately, I didn't have it when I studied Spanish in high school, and we always try to get the teacher to believe this is leading somewhere, by the way. We always try to get the teacher to speak English the whole time because we didn't want to speak Spanish. Because if you ever took a language in school, you remember that the last thing you actually wanted to do was speak that language. But then when I was about 30 years old, I started studying French and really started studying it and loving it and wanting to learn it and master it. I still haven't mastered it. I'm still studying it, but I have done stand up in French for about 10, 15 minutes. In Paris, and in Quebec, I've done it a couple times. But that desire to learn a foreign language and to challenge myself with that didn't exist when I was in high school, when all I was trying to do was do the least work possible, and get as good a grade as I could with little effort. So no, I don't think it was as an adult. I'm more interested in things, and I wasn't always that way.
I apologize. I was remiss to mention that you undertook French. I had that here. I'm trying not to look at my notes I have on you over here as much as possible. But yes, it is impressive that you did that. You learned French later in life and then did stand up in French, because then you have to learn like some of the slang. Because I mean, like doing stand up, that there's wordplay, especially with you. There's wordplay and misdirect and analogies, and you're learning all that French
times. And yeah, I mean, look, I never said that my comedy in French was anywhere near as good as it is in English, but I have done it. And it's very, very difficult, to get that fluidity and if one word is not the right word or is mispronounced, it ruins the whole joke. So it's exhausting, which is why I only really did 15 minutes. There are people that have done comedy. I know Eddie Izzard did it a whole hour in French.
Yeah.
Well, I got to say hats off to him, because I didn't have the stamina for a whole hour, because it's just so, unless you're really speaking at a native level or close to it, it's like you're in your head the whole time thinking, okay, is that the right word? Is that the right word?
Exactly. Now, paralleling that into your book, what the character Charlotte is a French native.
Correct.
I know, like I've listened to interviews and you said, hey, the character Ira Spiro is not Dan Naturman. It's 40% Dan, 60% made up. It's mostly your personality. And then, I mean, not most, but like it's somewhat your personality and 60% just, fiction. But the character of Charlotte, was this a character that actually happened to you in real life, or was this a way for you to introduce French, which you obviously have a passion?
Yeah. It was more of a way to introduce French, just because, like, how much shit can I pack into this book from my life? Because obviously, if I'm writing about shit that I know, it's going to be, I'm on solid ground. So I figured, well, why not just utilize that? And so that's really where that character came from. I mean, I do know a woman that's French and half Indian.
Yeah.
And Charlotte is half Sri Lankan, so that came from that. But mostly it was just a way for me to include some French stuff and because I know, again, like I'm trying to just stick shit in that I can write about it with some knowledge of.
Yeah,
It's hard to make up the whole thing.
exactly.
Although,
I wanted to kind of go into something that was sent to an interview. So I forget who the host was, but they kept trying to pigeonhole you into the Ira character. And you pretty much said like, hey, it's not like this is what my interpretation from that interview was. You were very interested in writing a memoir about yourself. However, you mentioned only really famous people write memoirs. So this was something that you did to kind of express yourself.
well, not
Now,
only really, uh,
yeah,
a lot of people write memoirs, and some of them
yeah,
get published, and some of them become wildly successful
yeah,
bestsellers. Um, it seems to me the comedy memoir genre has been done, and I didn't feel like doing it again.
yeah.
You know, and so that's
My question for you though, Dan, is this memoir, is this, is Ira Spiro before
a novel,
COVID?
not a memoir. Yeah.
Yeah, is this a really clever way of disguising your memoir in a work
No,
of fiction?
no, no, it's not. It's not.
Okay.
It's as I said in previous interviews that
Yeah.
you've referred to.
Yeah.
I'm in there. I
Yes.
can't say I'm not in there at all. I'm certainly
Yeah.
in there, but no, it's mostly fiction. I mean, I mean, for example, this character, the main character, is an Oscar winner. I'm
Yeah.
not
Well,
an Oscar screenwriter. So right
yeah.
off the bat, there's a big element of that character that has nothing to do with me.
Yeah. I guess, yeah. I mean, I understood. Yeah, I understood that. And I guess like it's perspective because Dan, if I were to meet you in person, it's easy for me to talk to you on here. If I were to meet you in person, I'd probably be a little starstruck and stutter and everything else. So it's perspective or whatever from that angle. But I recognize that maybe these are embellished accomplishments in the book, but I hope that you know that I think that you have a lot of accomplishments to be certainly proud of and that I'm very envious of.
Well, thank you, but I never did win an Oscar, so um,
But the,
I
the oh, sorry, the part of the book that really, I guess the part of the book that I really, I don't know if enjoyed was the right word, but really got to me was the story you had about your father and your mother, these relationships with your parents, not your parents, the relationship Ira had with his parents. The fact that Ira's father was just, never celebrate anything Ira had done. The mother was, abusive, emotionally, verbally, somewhat physically in the book. Um, that really spoke to me as from the book perspective. Now I know the character is loosely based on yourself from a personality standpoint. And I can recognize that there are people in the book who are like, oh, this person reminds me of Gnome because it has that situation. And I can make inferences from some of these other characters. How close are the characters in the book who play Ira's father and mother to your actual parents?
not very close.
Okay.
Emotionally distant father that didn't praise me. No, that's he wasn't like some parents that I meet that are
Hmm.
like think their kids are the greatest thing and say it all the time,
Yeah.
but he wasn't. No, those parents were based on parents of people that I know.
Okay.
Names will go who will go nameless, but
That's
I
fine.
mean, there's a comedian friend of mine whose father, the way he described him to me, was
Hmm.
much like Ira's father, and the
Okay.
mother was a woman that I know's mother. So I base those characters off those people.
Okay.
So not so they are based off people, but not my parents. No.
Okay. Are your folks still alive?
They are still alive. Yeah.
What did they say? Because I don't think I'd probably be the first person to infer this. Did you talk to them before the book came out that there might be people
No,
like
no,
me?
and they're very old. They haven't read it. I
They
mean, they're
didn't read
very
your book?
old. Well, my father's just not capable of reading these
Okay.
days. And I don't think my mother read it either, to be honest. But I'm not
Okay.
sure. But they're not in top shape. So
Yeah.
so
Okay.
mm,
Now,
yeah.
the part you were like emotionally distant and you're kind of boggling whether you're gonna answer that. How have your like in interviews that you've done, you have mentioned that like growing up, you didn't come from a showbiz family. So like when people ask you how did you get into comedy, it's not like an early age, coming to Jesus moment or whatever. It's something that happens during law school. But you said like, hey, there's somewhat of a benefit cost analysis where being the youngest, I had and having two older sisters who were successful, there was more freedom for me to kind of explore untraditional paths for a career. How did your parents initially respond to you going into stand up, especially when you went full time?
Well, but I think they responded, well, because of what you said. I have two older sisters that they
Hmm.
both kind of went on a traditional path, so that
Hmm.
kind of left me a little more free to do my
Yeah.
thing. And I had the law degree
Hmm.
in my pocket,
Hmm.
so they were surprisingly okay with it.
Oh, good.
Had I been but I think had I been the oldest child, it wouldn't have been like that. But comics are much more likely to be the youngest children.
Hmm.
I was just at dinner tonight. I'm in Aruba. I was just at dinner tonight with Ray Allen, Tom Carter,
Oh, wow.
his wife Carrie Louise,
Yes, yes.
all comics, all the youngest children. Because we were going to the table saying, because the topic came up, and then this
Yes.
other kid Zach, who's like a new comic that just
Yeah.
happens to be on the island that came to
Yeah.
join us. He's a new comic. So, and we all are the youngest kids,
That's
and and
awesome. That's
and
very
the fact
interesting.
of the matter is that's not a coincidence. That's you could go online and Google that. The
Yeah.
youngest children are more likely to go into these sorts of fields.
What do you think
And
it is about being the youngest that makes one like you think it's just is it from the parent standpoint where it's like their energy is zapped by the youngest, so there's more of like a looser discipline, or is it more of the younger kid trying to, hey, I got two examples before me. Now it's my turn to make my stamp here in this family.
I think I could Google that. I mean, I think it's because I think both of those things. I think by the time you get to the youngest kid, the expectations aren't quite the same, and so there's more freedom to do these sorts of things. And a youngest kid, I think, is just trying to get attention. He's the youngest kid; no one's paying attention to him. I mean, they're saying, "Oh, isn't he cute?" But they don't listen to what he has to say.
Yeah.
So, I think the youngest kid has this desire to be heard.
Hmm.
Yeah, anecdotally, I've noticed
Yeah.
it much more likely to be a youngest
Yeah.
kid in
Now,
comedy, and I think in show business in general.
anecdotally, you, from what I can find about your childhood, was you had described yourself as like a loner, and
I wasn't a loner. I wasn't
oh,
alone.
okay. But like it seemed like there was maybe, and you subscribed like, hey, you kind of like were disinterested in school. Where
I wasn't that either.
oh wasn't? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said at the beginning of the conversation that school wasn't like you were kind of bored with school. No,
I
I
wasn't
mishear
bored,
that.
but no, I didn't like homework, and I didn't like doing work.
Oh,
But that's
okay.
every kid mostly. I just said like that. I'm more interested now in learning now as an adult than I
Oh,
was
I
as a kid.
see.
But I did it. But I did what I had to do. I
Yeah.
got good grades. I went to UPenn, so I had to get good grades.
Yes.
You,
Yeah.
you, I didn't like it. No, I
Yeah.
didn't like the studying, but I liked the social aspect of it.
Okay. Well, my
I did
question for you is,
study,
were you a funny kid?
I
Were
tried to
people
be.
okay?
Yeah, I don't think my teachers would necessarily have perceived me as funny. They saw
Yeah.
me as a pain in the ass, but
Hmm.
that was always the way I tried to get
Hmm.
attention. I mean, I wasn't like the athlete, so
Yeah.
every kid wants to do have their thing. Every kid, I think,
Hmm.
wants to be like special in their own way. So, um, I tried to be the funny kid, I guess.
Yeah.
It was important to me to be the funny kid. And I
Now,
tried to do that. And again, my teachers would probably not agree that I was very funny at that time. But I certainly tried to be.
yeah.
And the students, I think thought I was funny. But we were all
Well,
kids, so I'm sure I wasn't very funny. But
yeah. Well, there's a situation that happens in the novel of a teacher that pokes fun at Ira's appearance. Was that a real situation, or
I
was
did have
that
a teacher, Mr. Lopes, that did that. Yeah,
okay? So
most
that is
people
real.
have. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, Mr. Lopes, the music teacher,
Hmm.
um, made fun of my nose, which in the novel it's his chin, I believe.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that happened.
Was
And then
that
I did have an 11th grade English teacher that called me Little Dan because I was very tiny.
hmm yeah.
This was back in the day when I guess teachers could make fun of students, and that nowadays it'd probably be hell to pay. But
I, I, still though. I mean, I'm sure that's hard. I mean,
well,
you're a
most
kid.
teachers, but you know what? I didn't mind it that much. I took it as ribbing, as you would
Yeah.
take it from a friend. I mean, because it was all in the tone.
Hmm.
I happen to get along with these particular teachers,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, um, and so I just took it as I might from a friend that was ribbing me. I
Hmm.
mean, um, so I didn't really it wasn't hurtful really particularly.
Now,
coming from these particular teachers because of the
yeah,
relationship that I had had with them. I mean, they probably, I mean, I don't know if it was they were appropriate or not,
yeah. Now, the
but as a
kind of
music
like,
teacher and an English teacher, which is what you'd expect.
yeah,
You know, because the science teachers, they're all buttoned up and very,
yeah,
now take out your Bunsen burner, and
yeah,
and the math teachers are all about numbers and figures and
yeah.
exactitude. But it would be a music teacher and an English teacher that would
You're pretty spot on. Yes,
that would behave in unorthodox ways. Like
exactly. But from the jokes that I've known you've done, I don't know all your jokes, but what I see out there and the ones that I have on your album, you don't do self-deprecating humor. Is there a reason
I do some, yeah, I
you
do
do
some.
some? Do you use some of the fuel from these teachers, like the little Dan and the nose ribbing, as premises for
Well,
jokes?
not
Or
those particular. Well, I'm not that little anymore.
yeah, that's true.
I'm
You're
not
yeah,
5'7", but I mean,
yeah,
I'm not ridiculously little.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I do a lot of stuff about not getting laid, about being awkward with women,
Hmm.
these sorts of things.
Hmm.
Uh, which is, I mean, standard stuff, I guess, for a lot of male comics do that kind of, even if
Yeah.
it's not true to do it, because that's
Hmm.
just like women comics often talk about being whores,
Yeah.
even if they're not,
Yeah.
because it's fun. And male
Yes.
comics often talk about being horrible with women, even if they're not,
Hmm.
because it's fun. But yeah, I do some self-deprecating, but my act is a lot of it is like it's not um it's kind of a character. It's not
Yeah.
true, most of the stuff that I'm saying on stage. So the self-deprecation is kind of fake self-deprecation because
Yeah.
it never happened. Like my joke about calling up my cousin Sheila, not
Yeah.
calling her up, but texting her and saying,
Yeah.
by sending her a text saying,
Yeah.
"Come over, I'm horny," and then realizing that I sent it to the wrong person, and then apologizing and saying,
Yeah.
"Cousin." I say to the audience, as soon as I realized I apologized, I said, "Cousin Sheila, I'm sorry that text was actually meant for somebody else. So sorry you came all the way over here."
Yeah.
So
No,
so that never happened.
yeah.
Uh, but it's self-deprecating the fact that here's this hapless guy that
Yeah.
with his crazy cousin.
Well,
Uh,
I like your style of comedy because you're very clever. I mean that I think that's what initially like. I mean, I'll never forget the first time I saw you, Dan, on Last Comic. Your jokes, I can totally remember them. Your jokes were about getting a gift card to a radio store, and then also or a record store, and then the jukebox joke, which were like very clever. And that's what I was like, oh my gosh, this guy is a next level
the
talent.
jukebox joke stopped working, and I don't do it anymore.
Well,
It's
no,
an
but I was
old
like,
joke.
but that line of just being clever and the misdirect and not being able to figure out your punchlines sets you apart. And that's why I have so much admiration for a comic like yourself, because the jokes are so well developed, so well communicated and relatable that you can throw a misdirection that I didn't see coming, and it's a big payoff laugh. um where do you think that you find most of your humor in when you talk, if self-deprecation is merely just in there, like sprinkled throughout? Where
Yeah,
do
yeah.
you get most of the joke? Like, where do you get most of the insight to develop your jokes?
I think every joke is different. Like, I have the jukebox joke, just to
Mhm.
review it for your
Yeah,
listeners, is
yeah,
how you go to you got to pay $1 to hear a song at the jukebox, and everybody else's list doesn't have to pay. They get to listen to the
yeah,
songs. I would walk around and say, "Hey, could you chip in?" Or you were singing, I noticed you were singing along.
yeah,
Maybe even a quarter.
yeah,
I don't know if jukeboxes are a thing anymore, so maybe that's why the joke doesn't work. But that joke just came about by me kind of noticing that, hey, I'm paying for this song, but everybody else gets to hear it.
yeah.
It was noticing shit. Um, you know, um,
But your observations are different than like what someone would style as like classical observation, which is like Jerry Seinfeld, like what's the deal with this, or what's
yeah.
airline food and that kind. Your observations are more like stuff that I would come upon in a day that should be obvious to me, but you're able to reveal like the truth in it, the absurdity in something, and that leads to the misdirect. Going back to your cousin Sheila joke, just like how funny it is that like, hey, how many times have you texted the wrong person by mistake, and then throwing the misdirect at the end? It's very funny. So when you're walking around, even in like Aruba or something like that, what what are you noticing differently than what I noticed to give
Oh,
you the
I
seed to
don't
a
know
joke?
how, it just, well, I guess my mind works the way it works and I can't explain it. But
Yeah.
so sometimes I mean, you know, again, some jokes just come to me, like I said, the jukebox joke or the gift
Yeah.
certificate joke, because in the course of living one's life, you
Hmm.
see things that don't make sense to you or that seem funny to you. Other jokes really take a lot of work to, like the cousin Sheila joke, which
Hmm.
isn't. It's observational insofar as everybody sends a text to the wrong person. So
Yeah.
the way that joke came about is like I knew sending a text to the wrong person. I knew there
Hmm.
has to be a joke in there. Has to be.
Yeah.
It's something that everybody does, and it's potentially disastrous.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that just literally took me a couple of years, I think, to get it right because
Yeah.
it was a lot of trial and error. It was a lot of like,
Hmm.
what if I sent my, I would just go down, it's like, you ever do those maze puzzles where you go down
Yeah.
and you get to a dead end and then you got to go
Yeah.
back and then you go another, and then,
Yeah.
so a lot of it was that. A lot of it was like, well, what if I texted my cousin
Yeah.
that to come over and then I wasn't, and then I said, okay, what would be the next step?
Yeah.
But this was after trying a bunch of different ways to get there and not and bumping up against a wall. So it was just a lot of that, a lot of try this, try okay, you texted you, like saying to myself, there's got to be a joke about sending a text
Yeah.
to the wrong person, and then I just played around with it. Literally, it probably took a couple of years to get that. Another premise I have is how being an uncle
Yeah.
is is easy. We don't do anything, and
Yes.
and I kept playing around with that, and I
Hmm.
nothing was really popping until I just, I maybe I saw a magazine for parents. I said, well, what would an uncle magazine be like?
Yeah.
But this was after playing around with the idea of being
Yeah.
uncles being a bullshit job that, for like months or maybe even
Yeah.
years, and then one day seeing a parents magazine and saying, oh, you know what? Maybe that's the angle. Maybe the angle
Yeah.
is there's no uncle magazines, and then the joke is what would an article be in an uncle magazine? Oh, your nephew's out of control. Well, it's not your problem. Here's some vacation ideas.
Yeah. Well, you've said in interviews that you don't really write, that it's
Well, I
everything is
write it here, but I
yeah, I
don't
gotta
write
say
with.
everything is in your head. Yeah, everything's in your head. So are you someone that writes on stage? Is that how you kind of figure out a joke? No.
No, no, not really.
So how do you go on
Some comedians
stage knowing that a
put.
punchline may work?
Well, I don't until I try it.
Okay. You don't
You know,
test it out with anybody beforehand or
no,
social
no, I
media.
don't think any comic does that. But for my
Okay.
first time in stand-up, before I did my very first
Hmm.
show, I did do it in front of people because I didn't have an audience to test shit out in front.
Hmm.
But now I just, if I'm at the Comedy Cellar, I'll slip a joke in. Most comics work this way. You
Yeah.
you do a bunch of your old shit to get the audience on your side, and then you
Hmm.
slip in new shit.
Hmm.
It might not work. You don't know. It's an inexact science. The truth of the matter is I really can't predict. Sometimes I think, oh, this joke's definitely going to work. It doesn't.
Are
So
are you are you someone that tries out if you're slipping in a new joke and you have like a punchline in place that you want to try and you don't get the response that you want? Do you try like hitting around it then, or do you immediately abandon the new joke and then go back to something older? Or do you like let
well,
me let me
if a
try to
joke
circle the
doesn't
board?
if a joke doesn't work on stage,
Mhm.
I don't want to like have too much dead air.
Okay.
So I will do another new joke and take a
Mhm.
chance that there's going to be two clunkers in a row. I'll
Okay.
do some more old jokes, get them back, then maybe
Yeah.
slip in another new joke, or maybe
Okay.
no. Maybe try and then go back home or wherever and try to figure out, okay, if I still think the premise is good, well, maybe I try it another way.
Yeah.
Maybe try it this way, maybe try it this way. Eventually, I might just say, well, there's nothing here. I can't come up with anything and give it up. Um, if it doesn't work once, that's
Mhm.
sometimes the joke gets zero laughs, and you say, well, there's nothing
Yeah.
at all. It may just be there's nothing there. But if a joke
Yeah.
is a little bit, you might say, well, maybe if I just did this or this or this.
Yeah.
So, or
Part of
sometimes the first half of the joke will work, but maybe the second half doesn't work. So maybe the first
yeah.
half we can work on that. Maybe there's something there.
Yeah, part of my struggle is like I'll tell a joke and people will think that the premise, that there's potential in the premise, and they may even come up afterward and say, like, hey, I really like X joke, but it needs some polishing. What advice would you tell me as far as like trying to like, hey, don't abandon this premise. Going back to the Dan Natterman that loves a challenge. Maybe that's why you take a year and a half to develop a joke fully.
I'd rather it comes to me right away, but sometimes I have
don't we
it
all?
doesn't.
But what would be some advice that you would tell me as far as like, hey, if like not from like a don't get discouraged point, but like what is something to think about when you think you have a good premise? What is like something that you do if the first punchline doesn't hit and you want to explore like option B? What is something that you would tell me?
Well, I would just say, I mean, if your gut tells you that the premise is good, then
Mhm.
there's a chance it is good, and just try another angle. I mean, yeah, that's all. Again,
Okay.
it's such an inexact science that it's
Mhm.
just I never really know. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's going to work or not. It's like, well, we'll try this. Well, that didn't work. We'll try. If I'm really, because some premises, I'm like, I know there's something here,
Yeah.
like the sending a text to the wrong person.
Mhm.
I said, well, there's got to be something there. So I'll try it this way, try it this way, try it this way, try it this way. But um,
Do you
yeah,
have
I
a
mean,
recent example of a new joke that you're currently working with right now that like the first time
well, I,
I tried this, it didn't work, but then I came in with this idea.
um, I mean, I am trying to work on something now, but I haven't quite gotten it to
Okay.
pop yet. You
Okay.
know, and I may never. But the general concept is how when I was a kid,
Mhm.
there was no internet. People could lie to you. So I couldn't Google. So that's the general overall premise
Yeah.
is that it was easy to lie back then. And I've tried
Yeah.
different. One thing I tried was saying, well, like I couldn't just like Google like go Vietnam War and Medal of
Mhm.
Honor and be like, hey, Dad, I'm not seeing your name here. Now that's gotten okay laughs, but it's
Yeah.
not explosive laughs.
Yeah.
So it hasn't gotten the laughs that I want.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm still trying to think. Well, maybe there's another angle. Like the whole notion of being able to, you couldn't verify shit online
Yeah.
in the '80s. Uh, that's the overall premise, and now
Yeah.
I'm still trying to find a killer joke within that premise, and I haven't yet succeeded in doing that.
I love that.
Uh,
That pop that you're talking about, where do you find if you saw like a trend in your jokes, where would you find the most success in that pop? Is it a good misdirect? Is it a good analogy? What is it like? What kind of tool do you
uh,
think gives you the
well,
biggest
yeah,
pop?
I mean, both of those things can be effective.
Okay.
Misdirect, analogy, misdirect. Those are basic tools, and I don't think there's necessarily one that always works. I mean, misdirect is usually you're pretty good, in terms
Yeah.
of effective. But yeah, I don't know if there's one that's always works and one that doesn't always. I think dirtier stuff is a little bit easier to get. Sometimes you get a laugh just
Yeah.
with a dirty word or with a. But I don't like to rely on that.
Yeah.
Um, if so, I don't think there's any magic formula really.
Okay. No, I wasn't really like looking for a I just like understanding how your joke process works because when I think of the jokes that you're able to come up with, they're just so clever and they're so well done and polished and neatly packaged. And you can tell that joke in New York City and it would do just as well as you told it in a town of 400 people in the Midwest somewhere. They're just universally evergreen hilarious. So just trying to see how your brain works and like functions and how to come up with these jokes. Coming,
Well, a lot of it, as I said, is just brute force.
yeah,
It's just brute. I'll try this. That didn't work. I'll try this. That didn't work. I'll try
yeah.
this. You
Do
know.
you now you're a very established comic, but are there like obviously Comedy Cellar is something that you would probably more of a show for you, but if you're trying to play around from premises, do you go to are there places in New York that you go to that you can relax a little bit and let your hair down and be tried and like maybe play around a little bit on stage, or is it
Comedy is a
always
good
a show
question.
for you?
Pardon? The
I,
comedy
I,
seller is a good question. The comedy seller is like you always want to do your best because it's like there's a full house and it's the
yeah.
comedy. So I don't really feel at ease there. So in terms
Hmm.
of new jokes, I feel more at ease at the West Side Comedy Club on the Upper
Okay.
West Side,
Hmm.
um, or at Stand Up New York. But just after just during the Omicron thing, the
Yeah.
audience was smaller at the cellar. So I felt when the audience is smaller, I
Yeah.
feel I feel more at ease doing new shit.
Okay.
When it's
And
a full house and
yeah.
you're, oh, this is a show. These,
Yeah.
then I will do new jokes, but
Yeah.
I prefer a smaller crowd for new jokes.
With a smaller crowd, will you still do your with a new joke? Will you still do your once and done punchline, or will you be a little more liberal with like, all right, with it mediocre response, I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to keep more ideas coming
More
out.
likely to,
Okay,
yeah, I feel less pressure. So,
yeah.
um,
Part of how you describe yourself and also the character how Ira is you know there's anxiety and there's OCD and there's stage fright and not really being satisfied with how like current life is, especially Ira. I mean, that's the first page of the book. That's about dissatisfaction with the status quo in Ira's life. Although I would say like it's kind of seen as like it's kind of painted as a negative, I almost see it as a positive. And with you, because this anxiety and this always and how you describe being challenged, like wanting to do a challenge, like always is trying to improve and be better. Like would Ira have written Jackson Taylor's Christmas Party, and would have Dan Natterman been on AGT and then go on to the champions round if they were well-adjusted members of society?
probably not. I mean, I think you
Yeah,
could say that for comedians in general, that we're not well adjusted.
yeah,
If there is a well adjusted comedian, he's probably not that good.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there is a correlation
Hmm.
between, these anxiety, depression,
Hmm.
bipolar, whatever,
Yeah,
and art, eh, and being artists. I
yeah,
mean, their books have been written about that. So,
yeah. But
and substance abuse. These are not necessarily things that all apply to me,
yeah,
but you look at comedians, although some of them might apply to me, but not the substance abuse
yeah,
stuff. But
yeah.
but we see that, of course, in comedians. I mean, they use
Mhm.
substance abuse everywhere, but it seems to be more prevalent.
Yeah.
And I do think that these sorts of things are more prevalent in the comedy world and in the show business world. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, but for you, when you think about your own anxiety, and I also have anxiety as well that I take medication for, but it's like, so I can relate somewhat. But like, do you see this as like a double-edged sword? Like, it sucks that you have to go through this. It sucks that it brings you so much internal pain, but the output as an artist is so much better that you have these conditions.
well, I don't. Well, first of all, I'm not at quite at Ira's level of you know uh,
Yeah.
anxiety.
Okay.
Uh, again, I'm in there, but
Yeah.
it's not it's fictitious.
Yeah. The events are. Yeah.
But yeah. So the I mean that's Gary Goldman addressed this very point.
Mhm.
Gary Goldman, who's famously been treated and even I think hospitalized for depression,
Mhm.
and so I remember he was talking about this on stage, or maybe
Mhm.
not on stage, but on Twitter or
Mhm.
wherever he was talking about it, saying, "Well, but okay, but it makes you a great artist." And he was saying, "No, it might make you a great artist, but it's not what it's great artists are often mentally ill, but it's not the mental illness itself
Mhm.
that makes you a great artist."
Mhm.
So um, and I think I agree with this, although maybe a psychiatrist could tell you, could give you a better answer.
Yeah.
I think that oftentimes comedians are mentally ill, but it's
Mhm.
not the mental illness itself that makes you a better artist. If you got cured of the mental illness, you'd still be a great artist with the added benefit of not being mentally ill.
Yeah. I, I'm trying to
So
think of any examples in the
I'm trying to
comedy
think of an
world where that would.
analogy. I'm trying to think of an analogy to make that point clearer.
Yeah.
Um, you know, um, yeah,
But
well,
even like Van Gogh, a brilliant artist,
yeah, but
had suffered, like he had many multiple illnesses, and severe ones at that. But so I mean, I can see where Gary Goldman's point is too. But like Dan, if I had magic wand and could take away your anxiety and OCD and stage fright, would
yeah,
you let
I'd
me?
still be able to write the jokes that I'm writing, but I would
Okay.
just be able to do so. Yeah, I don't think it's anxiety or stage
Hmm.
fright, which I do have,
Hmm.
even after all these years. I don't
Yeah.
think that's helping me write better. I think it's just something that often comes with the artistic personality.
Interesting. Because I'm trying to think like
So in other
when I
words, if there was a pill that all of a sudden I wouldn't
yeah,
have any of that, I don't
yeah.
think it would harm my um, ability to write jokes or to
Mhm.
perform.
Yeah.
I think those would still be intact. So I think and that's the point that Gary Goldman made. He said,
Yeah.
"No, this is not good.
Yeah.
This is it's not a good thing. I want to
Okay.
be well, and
Yeah.
then I'll be able to be even more effective
Okay.
as a comedian." That's what he believes, and
Mhm.
that's what I think is true.
Oh, I like that. I like that way of thinking. I like the because I think for a while I've always like, oh well, you have these conditions, but at least you're funny and be able to tell jokes. Now, would you think your delivery? You think that if your jokes are the same, do you think your delivery would be thrown off if you had no more stage fright? Because on stage you're
Well, I think
not
it'd be better.
relaxed.
I think it'd be better. Yeah, I mean,
You think you'd be better?
arguably, well, you might argue that feeling uneasy adds
Yeah.
to whatever the
Hmm.
character, but no, I don't think so. Though I think it would be. I think it's these things are not good things. They're things that, as I said, often are associated with the artistic personality, but in and
Hmm.
of themselves, these are not good things. You'd rather not have them, and if you can somehow get, you know. If you can somehow cure them, then I think it would
Hmm.
be all the better.
What do you enjoy more, learning French or telling jokes on stage?
Well, learning French, although I've been studying French literally for 20 years. It'll be 20
Hmm.
years. I think it's about right now.
Okay. Wow.
It may literally be the month that I started. It was
Congrats.
um, so it's not as interesting because I'm kind of good at it at this
Okay.
point. It's less of a challenge. So uh, you know,
Going back to the early times of studying French.
but yeah, I preferred that. I preferred
Okay.
that.
Is it because the pressure's not there? Is
Maybe that's it. Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah. I just think
um
the idea of speaking another language really was really so cool to me. Something
yeah,
I found,
I agree. Yeah.
although it never was like that in high school, like I told you. So for some reason, all of a sudden, as an
Yeah.
adult, I started to appreciate something that never was of any interest to me as a younger person. So I don't know.
Yeah. That's awesome. I because I'm thinking about like why like so now reading the book and now like the myth of the Irish parents being not your parents, where do you think these anxieties laid in? Because is there a correlation between I'm sorry, first question is, did you have any of these while you were a kid, like a high school teenager, the anxieties and the
Yeah,
OCD?
yeah.
Yeah. So was there a correlation
I think it's
between,
genetic, because my mother's an anxious person. My grandfather, her father, and mother. So I can't point to anything in my upbringing,
yeah,
unlike Ira, who had a very particular upbringing that
yeah,
would classically lead to these sorts of symptoms. Mine didn't seem to, but I think a lot of it's just genetic, to be
but
honest.
when I see that you're like a top performer, it was the anxieties because there was some pressure to be a top performer.
No, I don't know. I just, you know, maybe.
Okay.
I just think it's just something that's kind of in me,
Yeah. Okay.
intrinsic.
Okay. Um, what when
Not
I
as
when
fascinating an answer as you would have hoped,
no, it's fine because I'm just trying to like understand
but again,
if
I'm a lot more extreme than I
yeah,
am. I do
yeah,
get stage fright, more so than I think most comics, especially most comics that are been in it as long as I have.
yeah. But it's probably good that you're still. I feel like as comics get more complacent, that they start fading a little bit. You know what I mean? I think that like I think it's good to be nervous. I think as soon as I start seeing comics who are like real comfortable all the time, and that's probably because they're doing the same hour they've been doing for the last like 30 years. Like I think there is a benefit of having having those nerves though, and being on stage. Would
Well,
you
they
say?
do say a little bit of nerves is good.
Yeah.
Obviously, excessively would not be good, but they do say that. You don't want to be too complacent. You don't
Hmm.
want to. This keeps you focused, keeps you in the game, keeps your eye on the ball, whatever.
Yeah. Now, it's interviews I heard you do. You've mentioned multiple times that one of the accomplishments that stuck out in your life was this award you received in high school for a school play. Um, what would you like is would you say that that is probably one of the most meaningful awards, not your biggest accomplishment, but as far as meaning to you, where does
Well,
that award rank?
at the time, at the time, at the time it was significant. At the time, I
Yeah.
felt very, very, I did a school play and Harvey. I played Elwood P. Dowd. That was
Oh,
played by
nice.
Jimmy Stewart in the movie.
Okay.
It's from like the 50s or something. These the high school plays. Now they're doing more modern shit in high schools, but those days they did all the old shit. I guess because it
Yeah.
was cheap to get the rights to it. But in any case, but yeah, I felt like really, really, as a kid, like you want attention. You want, like, again, I wasn't the athlete. I wasn't getting, I
Hmm.
wasn't getting accolades on the ball field.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So it was meaningful.
Did you have stage
Didn't have
fright?
a
Can you
publicity letter or any.
well still though, I mean it's pretty good. I mean I
Well,
don't
so this was my way of standing out.
yeah.
Like,
Now did you have stage fright then too when you were performing?
yeah, I probably did. I don't really remember. It was so long ago. I probably, yes, probably.
Okay.
But not as bad for some. I like stand up is
Hmm.
is a different animal.
Yeah.
You're there alone. You're on the stage alone, and you're first of all, I was doing somebody else's play. If they didn't
Yeah.
like it, I was like, I don't like this shit.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I'm saying my lines right, so I don't know what you people are complaining about. It's written by whoever it was written by. Stand up, it's like you're there by yourself,
Hmm.
and you're trying to get laughs every whatever to
Hmm.
30 seconds, 60 seconds.
Yeah.
You know, it's a particularly um, high pressure environment.
What about stand up draws you to it? Why are you attracted more to stand up when you
Well,
could
because
easily switch and go like the Broadway route or do something where you're doing more plays as an adult?
well, I mean, because stand up, I'm writing the shit. It's a lot more
Okay.
satisfying. I mean, even though it's unnerving
Hmm.
and rattling, it's
Hmm.
my shit. And also you can do stand like it's not so easy to get into a audition, and you got to audition.
Yeah.
You don't even like the damn play, but I get to write my shit, and I know I'm gonna like it because it's my shit, and I
Yeah.
get to perform it all the time.
Hmm.
You're just you're your own. You don't have to rely on anybody else. Nobody has to hire me. I don't have to go on auditions, and it's my stuff.
Yeah. Do you would you prefer to be doing more acting though? And because it
Well,
seems
yeah,
like I
I
get
would.
that impression.
Not plays,
Yeah, not no, no,
necessarily.
not plays like sitcoms and stuff like
Oh,
that.
sure. I mean, who wouldn't
Okay.
want a big check? And also, I mean, you know, um, it's less stressful. Because if you don't fuck it up, you just do. Okay, we'll do it again. We'll do another
Yeah.
take.
Would you want something more kind of like now I know like in the book there was that the whole thing with the TV show pilot, but like would you want something more where you were in charge of the
Yeah,
sitcom,
that would
or would
be
you rather
cool.
be like the participant of somebody else's sitcom?
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of pressure if it's your sitcom. Look, if it was a good sitcom and I was just an actor in it,
Hmm.
that could be quite fun. That could
Okay.
be, satisfying. I just don't want to be in something that sucks. So if it's your project,
Yeah.
presumably you don't think it sucks. It might suck, but at least
Yeah.
you don't think it sucks.
Yeah.
Somebody else's project might very well suck, and you might have lines you're like, oh, who the fuck I got to say
Yeah.
this shit. So that's the. But if it's a good project,
Yeah.
you know, if I was, if it was Seinfeld,
Yeah.
that show, and you're in something that's truly, truly great,
Hmm.
that will, and you're just the actor, and you're making good money, and you just and let the other people deal with writing it and all
Yeah.
that. I'm sure that could be a lot of fun, and then you could still do stand up, on the
Would
side
would
if you.
if in your ideal world, like would this because would this show that you would do be related to stand up like a Louis and a Seinfeld, or would
Oh,
it be something more like what Ira was working with in the book, which is what's
oh,
you
no,
know it's,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, I was working with it. It was the stand up aspect to the show he was
there
working on,
was,
too, but
yeah,
without giving too much away. But
yeah,
it doesn't have to be. No, it wouldn't have to be stand up related. Yeah, like Crashing was stand up related.
yeah.
Seinfeld was tangentially stand up related. I mean, Jerry in the show was a stand up, although
Hmm.
toward the later seasons you didn't really see that much of it necessarily. But
Yeah,
no, it wouldn't have to be that. It just so happens that the sitcom that I don't know if it was a sitcom, whatever
yeah,
it was, happened to be about stand up. I mean, Crashing. But
yeah. Have you pitched in real life? pitched anything for a sitcom deal?
Um, Over the years, here and there, with no success in terms of getting a show made, but yeah, over the years, here and there, not
What
too much.
what is something that what is a role that you've had that you would like? Which role in your acting experience in your portfolio of
I don't have very
act,
much acting experience,
well,
probably.
you know, but like which would you say like if you could create a sitcom, what would you want that sitcom to be about? Would it be about your life or be a
Oh,
character
it wouldn't
like
have to
Ira as a
be. Yeah,
character?
I don't know. It wouldn't have to be.
Okay,
And I mean, if it was, it wouldn't have to be about my
okay.
life, you know.
But if you
Um,
had complete control, would you want it to be? Because you
it
talk
wouldn't
about
have to.
this
No,
need
I
to
didn't. As
express
long
yourself.
as it was good. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't care if it's about me or my real life or if it's completely made up. But if I
Okay.
was writing, I'm sure my life would get in there somewhere because
Yeah.
I'm the writer. Just like the writers of Seinfeld, they wrote about the world of stand-up to
Yeah.
an extent.
But I get this feeling, Dan, from you that like there is such a like that what's important to you is the need to express yourself, which is why the book came out, because you talked about the book being like a form of therapy. And that's I think that's if I had to read between the lines, it's kind of why I think you like stand up, because you're writing it in your voice and your stuff. Like this ability to express yourself seems to be super important, which it should be. But why would you compromise something like that just for a character that might just be, good in a someone else's thing? Like, would you want?
You're talking about two separate issues. You're saying
I
a
kind of
character
am.
that's
You're right.
somebody else's thing
Yeah,
and a character that's in my thing, but that's not me.
yeah.
You're still expressing yourself. You're just not expressing
Okay.
yourself in an autobiographical way. You're expressing
Yeah,
yourself other ideals that you have that I mean, it's going to be you in there,
yeah,
even if it's not your life. It's going to be your stuff.
yeah.
You know.
The
Um, I mean,
character.
so
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
it's
Sorry. Go.
it's coming through you, so it's going to be
Yeah,
filtered through you. You're expressing yourself, even
yeah,
if it's not autobiographical.
yeah. The character Miles and his relationship with Ira, would that be something that you would want in your life? If someone approached you and said, "Hey, I want to expose, not expose is right the right word, but I want to show the true Dan Natterman. I really want to scrape out every aspect of your life." Would you be
Well,
comfortable with
I
that
wouldn't
or
mind.
not?
Um, well, I don't think I would want to. I'm not looking at look. Ira wrote a memoir in the book.
Yes.
It's a memoir
Yeah.
within a book.
Correct.
I'm not going to write a memoir. I didn't write a memoir.
Yeah.
There's a reason I didn't write a memoir.
Okay.
I don't
But
know if my life's that interesting, and I feel memoirs, whatever. I have no overwhelming need to write one. So I
okay.
wrote a book about a guy that wrote a memoir.
Okay. Okay. I'm
Uh,
just curious.
but yeah, so no, I mean, I'm not itching to write a memoir. Um, I mean, I wouldn't mind somebody, if somebody wanted to work together on a TV show, I would certainly, that kind of guidance and help would be welcome.
Yeah. Now, in the book, in the Ira book, there is a theme of death that permeates throughout the entire book, and it comes in many different forms. I'm not going to spoil anything, but like the many different forms of death. Um, Ira is constantly worried about whether an afflictment that he has, like a mole or a rash, could lead or be something bigger than what it is. Second guessing doctors, even like a death, like a metaphorical death. When he bombs on stage, he leaves his clothes behind the hotel room, kind of like a snake shedding his skin, leaving the dead act, and starting anew the next day.
You could maybe teach a course on this book.
In your life, Dan, so about Ira, but like obviously this is with your voice written in it, and death comes up in other different ways, but I don't want to kind of spoil that aspect. But where is what is your view on
Well, it's unfavorable, was my view on it.
death?
Woody Allen said, I have no. He was talking about aging, and
Yeah.
he was at a press conference, and they said, "What do you, how do you feel about aging?" He goes, my opinion has never changed. I'm against it. Avoid it if at all possible."
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about it. And he also said in Annie Hall, he said, I mean, life is like it's full of misery and pain, and it's over much too quickly.
Hmm.
So Yeah, I mean, I'm at 52 years old, so it's like, yeah, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, oh, this shit is not going on forever. As a
Hmm.
20, even as a look, even as a 10-year-old, I would think about it.
Yeah,
But in a more it was like, okay, yeah, we all die, but that's going to be so far in the future. But
yeah.
now, it's like, oh, it's real,
52 is
and
still, I mean, 52 is not that old, Dan.
yeah,
So
it's
52 is
old
not
enough
that
to
old.
it's old enough to know to get a no, but it's not. But
Yes.
it's old enough to know that to to realize
Hmm.
that this ain't going on forever. That this is that there's that, yeah,
Yeah,
this is not infinite,
yeah,
and hopefully, I mean, it's still several more decades, but still,
yeah,
that's still not that much time. The way these years are clicking by,
exactly.
uh,
Especially in the last couple.
you just well, in
Yeah,
particular the pandemic
yeah,
years, but really flying, you
yeah.
know. And
Is,
look, a lot of my colleagues are not with us any longer.
yeah. Uh,
So
how,
I mean, it's obviously something you think about.
again, not trying to read into Ira, but as a reference point, as a jumping off point, I'm not sure my recall is that great, but Ira in this book, from what I understand, was atheist or at least agnostic. Where is your perception of life
That's
after death?
one aspect in which Ira and I are the same.
Okay.
Yeah, we're both um, very, very skeptical about the existence of anything, more than what we
Yeah.
see here.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I wish I could believe it, but
Are there things that you feel you have still to do before your life is over?
well,
Or
that sounds
like
ominous.
what are some things that you hope to do before your life? Let me rephrase that. What are things that you hope to do before your life is over?
Um, well, I would just like to go further, in stand up and I'd maybe write another book.
Hmm.
This time one that people, you know, that flies off the shelves. Um, but yeah, I would like to, maybe get more into film and television as well.
Okay.
I would say have a family, but I don't really feel that way. But even though that, you know,
Wait. What was that? You're like have a family, but I don't really feel that way.
but
Would
it's like
you just
I
have a
feel
family
like you're
just to have a
supposed to
family?
feel like you're supposed to say that.
Oh,
Like
okay.
normal people want to have families. I think. Do you have a family? I know this is not about you, but as stand-up comics, so many of us are single and
Hmm.
childless
Hmm.
that it doesn't even feel weird to me.
What?
Um, but it is odd
Hmm.
to be my age and not having never been married, having no. I mean, it's not unheard of, obviously.
Yeah.
But a lot of comics are in my category, so I don't. It doesn't necessarily feel that weird.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Are are you mostly concerned about dying of opportunities that you would miss out on, or
No,
more so
I'm
of
not being.
just
I just have the natural fear of death, like most people.
yeah.
Which is I think why we. I think why the human race. I think it's just an evolutionary adaptation to fear
Hmm.
death. Because
Oh
if we
yeah.
didn't fear death, we wouldn't be here. We would have given up long ago. We would have never made it through the hunter-gatherer times.
Yes.
If death seemed like a reasonable option, we'd have been like, no, I'm not. I'm not going to hunt and gather all day and get chased by wild ass. Fuck this. So, so we evolved to fear death
Yeah.
that
Well,
we such that we try to avoid it. That's my take on the whole thing.
so do you think that once
I'm
you
not even sure
die?
it's logical to fear death. I just
Oh
know
yeah,
that
no, no, trust me. I fear death. I fear death. I mean, I'm not in Ira's camp, I would say, as far as the, like the mole, with the mole stuff. But yeah, no, there is definitely I do think about it often. So like I'm trying to explore this like well, why hasn't as an opt out to death, as a way to kind of ease the fear of death, religion kind of gets added in
yeah,
there.
it's not so easy to say, okay, let me be religious. You
Yeah.
actually have to believe. People have asked me that, like, well,
Yeah.
God would be, belief in God really can help
Hmm.
out, but I can't just tell myself to believe in something that I don't
Yeah.
believe in.
What?
Because it would be more comfortable for me to believe.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I can switch, with the snap of a finger.
Were you more
So
religious as a kid, or were you always kind
I,
of never religious?
no, I never.
Oh,
My
okay.
parents were not religious. They went to Hebrew school, for
Oh,
uh,
so they weren't religious, but they sent you to Hebrew school. You had a
no,
bar mitzvah and everything.
yes, because it's about the tradition, not about the religion.
Oh, okay. That's
Because I
something about Jewish culture I have to really understand that the tradition
I,
there's a
I
tradition
came
to
home from Hebrew school and said, Dad, you know what we learned in school today? We learned that God did this and God did that and God parted the Red Sea for
yeah.
Moses. And my father was like, okay, maybe. And I'm like, wait, you're making me go to this school
Yeah.
to learn shit you don't even believe, which at the time seemed bizarre to me.
Yeah.
But no, like, I kind of get it. Like, it wasn't about that. It wasn't about God. It was
Yeah.
about being Jewish and whatever that means. But you're right. It is hard to understand. It doesn't make
Yeah.
intuitive sense.
No, no,
It
I
doesn't make
mean
like
it's
what's
yeah.
that?
No, I was gonna say that I would say like I see both ends. I mean, would you describe yourself as atheist or do you believe in something
Well,
that's out there?
it's such a dirty word. I don't like to use it. It just
I don't think
expresses.
it's a dirty word. I think atheism is a religion, just
I
like
don't know.
Judaism and Buddhism and Christianity. And
I can't bring myself to say I'm an atheist. I
okay,
can't. I'm going to cop out and say I'm an agnostic, and I guess that's more accurate because atheists are just like, no way, there's no God. Fuck it.
yeah,
Agnostic, like I,
yeah,
I don't know, but I mean, it's a weird distinction that I'm not 100% clear on anyway. But atheist just seems like such a harsh word. I mean, they used
I
to.
think that's society that does it.
I think they used to burn atheists.
Yeah,
Agnostics, I think they left them alone, but. I mean, I'm open to the possibility of, I'm not
yeah.
like saying there's no God, no way, no how.
Hmm.
Or,
So
or gods, maybe. Maybe the Greeks were right all along, and Zeus and
yeah,
Dionysius and those guys were all right. So I would say agnostic, but I've
yeah.
spin in my head a million different
Yeah.
ways. Like I read what's his name? Stephen Docking?
Stephen
No, not,
Hawkins.
no, that other guy, Dawkins, the God illusion. The God.
Uh,
Uh, his name is Richard Dawkins. Yeah. So I read
oh,
his Richard Dawkins,
yeah. What's the book called?
The God Delusion.
He might have written something else. Now I'm looking up something, Dan.
He
The
wrote a
name
lot.
definitely sounds familiar.
Well, he
Richard,
wrote a
does
lot.
he do Power versus Force? Is that him?
I don't know, but he's a very well known
Yeah,
guy, and so he wrote this book, The God Delusion, which I read, and he really just rips apart every possible, argument in favor of the existence of God. So, and he makes a very compelling case, obviously.
yeah.
Um,
When you go to someone's funeral, especially someone that you had a deep connection with, whether it's a comic or a family member, do you honestly think that the last experience with them is the last experience you'll ever have, or do you think that there is hope that there is something, a reunion of some sort
I don't think
later?
there's a. I think that's it.
Okay,
I think that's it.
okay,
I mean, it'd be nice. Look, you say that. I mean, it'd be nice if there were.
hmm,
And you might tell a family member those, yeah, we'll see him again, just because that's what you're
yeah,
supposed to say in those
yeah,
situations. But no, I think it's over. I think just like before we were born, there was nothing. I think it's the same thing.
yeah. Well, I mean, part of your biography even is uh which I neglected in the bio for this because I was like, this is probably something where it's like Dan means it as a joke, but it's definitely true. Is that he lives alone, has issues with close relationships. Would
Yeah.
you would you say that like because of this fear of death that you don't like permanent relationships because they
No,
have to
I don't think
end?
I don't think that has anything to do with it.
Oh, okay. I'm just spitfiring here to see.
In there, but no, I think it's a separate issue. I think it's a separate
Okay.
issue. We can have more than one, certainly. Uh,
Um, do you write jokes when since the theme there was times in this book there I could tell there was messaging like on climate change is one that comes to my head right away. Not sure there's other ones here too, but like death, for instance, can circulate throughout and religion somewhat. Do you write jokes on subject matter like that could be controversial, where people have two different sides?
Well, yeah, but sometimes, like in a book, you don't have to be funny the whole time. And
Yes.
most books aren't funny at all.
Yeah.
Even books that are supposed to be funny usually aren't that funny. So
Yeah.
you have freedom to be more philosophical.
Yeah.
And, and now Dave Chappelle does this on
Hmm.
stage oftentimes. times. He'll be philosophical without necessarily having a punchline. So,
Mhm.
but anyway, but a book allows you to do that.
What
Uh, stand
about your
up
end? Yeah.
with stand
I
up,
was
you got
gonna
to
say,
be
yeah,
funny. That's the whole definition of the thing. So, I mean, unless you're Chappelle and you really and you're like a
yeah,
preacher at this point,
yeah,
even indulge the audience,
yeah,
and you can be funny, but then you can do 10 minutes that's like about George Floyd
yeah,
and that's he's really preaching up there.
yeah.
But I don't do that. No, I mean, so these topics that I address in the book
Hmm.
are trickier to address
Yeah.
on stage when you're not as likely to get a big laugh.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm less likely to explore those themes
Okay.
on stage because, again, a book and stand up are two different things. Stand up, you
Yeah.
got to be funny. A book, you don't have to be funny.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, I tried to be funny in the book, but also there were many elements that are serious.
As someone who likes challenges, though, do you ever see yourself as trying to take on the challenge of taking on more, you know, jokes that could be there could be duality or like political wise or stuff where there could be
Well,
trying to unite two sides and have a funny punchline.
yeah, I mean, I have tried to, it's tricky. I've tried to
Hmm.
go in that direction with so far not great results, but um, and also my act has a certain style, so it's got to fit in with the style. Like
Yeah.
I'm a preacher. I'm not
Yeah.
like Chappelle. I get Billy Burr is like Bill Burr, but
Yeah.
he's got Billy Burr, and it's still I still think of him as Billy Burr, but it was Billy Burr when I met him.
Yeah.
But people that are up there and they're kind of preaching. They're kind of
Hmm.
saying, I'm not doing that. I'm talking about my cousin
Yeah.
Sheila coming over. It's that I could do a joke about cousin Sheila and then do a joke about, you know, uh, like
The election.
like Chappelle does, where I'm really
Yeah.
trying to make a profound point
Yeah.
in a profound way, and I don't think you can mix the two.
Hmm.
I think, you know, so I mean, and right, so at some point maybe I would just completely throw away everything I've written and then start anew if I
Hmm.
had that, if Netflix gave me a deal for a special and I could
Yeah.
do it and then throw that all away and then just
Hmm.
become something else, maybe I would. But right now, this is the act that's how I, make money.
Yeah.
So I don't want to fuck with it.
I can
Uh,
understand.
and again, Noam insists, oh no, you could do both at the same time, mix them together. But I
Yeah.
don't think it would. I don't.
What so you said you kind of got into this early 2000s, right around the time that Last
Wasn't
Comic
the
Standing.
'90s, but it wasn't until the early 2000s where I started to be a
My
regular.
bad. Yeah. How did I want to talk about Last Comic Standing too? I said if I ever got a chance to talk to you, I do want to talk about it because that's how I heard about you, and that's how I became a fan of Dan Natterman. How did you even get on the show? Like, how did you, were you at that
Last
point
Comic
represented?
Standing? Well, at
Yeah,
that point, no, I don't think I was represented, but
yeah.
I mean, it was like we all kind of, the, it
Did you
was a,
audition or did someone see you?
we all knew each other.
Okay.
Like they were doing this show, Last Comic
Yeah,
Standing. They needed people, and they knew
yeah,
who the people in New York were
yeah.
that that would be good for it. So I
Hmm.
guess I think Gulman might have told me, oh, you should,
Yeah,
they know who I was, the
yeah,
producer. Barry Katz knew who I was.
yeah.
So, they said, okay, come audition. And I mean, I don't really remember the first audition, but I didn't have to wait in line or anything like
Okay,
that.
well that's
I,
good.
I think that the more established comics,
Yeah,
the relatively established comics, just
got
they
a
were just
pass.
told you can get the
Yeah,
audition, you don't have to stand in line.
I would say
But
you're
again, I knew Jay more already. I knew Barry
okay.
Katz already.
That yeah. I said your performance has to be one of the most memorable ones because you go on stage and you murder. I mean that's when I mean that I saw you go on there. You did the two jokes, regular joke, and the jukebox jokes. And I was like, man, this guy's got. I need to see more. This can't be the last time I see this guy. He's amazing. And then you don't get in. And to NBC's credit, they show the judges leading discuss. I guess they could have edited that out to like kind of
Yeah.
downplay the whole thing. Tell me from your standpoint, since you were one of the few people there, what was told to you? Because obviously, everyone and their grandmother wanted you
Well,
on the show.
NBC said, well, the judges, they weren't the final decision. The judges were just like there to add their
Yeah,
input, but there was the network that would decide.
yeah. Did they tell
So
you
they
what
didn't give me
about
a
it?
good explanation necessarily for it, other
Yeah.
than that they had their house picked out. They had um, who they wanted. They probably knew who they wanted before the audition, before the contest. They probably already knew who they wanted. So
They give you like a blanket statement. They were like, "Oh, the network decides," but they didn't really tell you what because everybody wanted you in the house. I think you would have been an amazing addition to the house and would have gotten super far. But did you see did you see a pickup after that happened because of the notoriety around that
a little bit, a
controversy?
little bit, a little bit, yeah, a little bit.
Did you see that people were like, we got to talk to that guy, like we need to know more about this Dan down,
Yeah,
he
a
killed
little
it in
bit,
his
but
acting.
nothing amazing, but it was
Okay.
a little bit more, yeah.
Did
The flight attendant recognized me um, on a flight, like,
Yeah,
day after it aired.
yeah.
That I remember.
Did Brett Butler or
Didn't
Drew
upgrade
Carey,
me, but he recognized me.
did they try to take, I mean, I don't know if they were still touring at that time. I have no idea. Did they
Was that?
try to like get you set up? Like did Drew Carey try to like put you in touch with
No,
people or
he never did anything for me. I mean, I don't know if he had. I don't know if he
yeah,
had any, what he could have done. But no, I
yeah.
mean, he did talk to me. We talked to me on the phone, and then I met him in L.A. for lunch a couple of years
Mhm.
later. He was a perfectly nice guy.
Yeah.
Um, didn't
Now
do anything for me, but I don't know that he could have.
it's what we saw on TV, and I remember it's clear as day where I forget who the producer was like, yeah, there's other people that vote besides the judges, and did it
It
end
might have
there,
been Peter
or was
Angle, it might have been Peter Angle did.
yeah, but or was there more to it that we didn't see? They take you into a room and be like, listen, Dan, we got to put these five people in the house. We have
They
contracts
just
with these five.
there were people that they managed, and there were
Yeah,
people that they liked, that people that they thought would go
yeah.
far in the business because of whatever reasons.
Mhm,
They thought, well, we need, this guy would be good in a sitcom, or I don't
mhm,
know. You'd have to talk to the producers, but
yeah. And then like miraculously enough, I see you pop in on Last Comic Standing 6. How how did the bitter taste in your mouth allow you to
yeah,
come back?
I thought that maybe it would be they would. It was a mistake to do that show again, but I thought that it would be like, okay, they're going to make it a storyline like Dan Adamant returns, but
Yeah.
they didn't, and I didn't have I didn't have the kind of set in Las Vegas that I had the first time I did it.
Mhm.
So it was a mistake to go back, but I rolled the dice. I couldn't complain because I knew what I was getting into. The first time I didn't know what I was getting into. The
Yeah.
second time I knew what I was getting into.
Still though, I mean, it's a lesson in reality TV what happened to you because that was a shame. That show would have been so much better had you
Yeah,
gone into the house.
reality TV is not. There's not much real about it, but now I know that. So now
Yeah.
you go in now with eyes open.
Now you go to AGT. Was that something that? How did you get the AGT spot? I doubt you auditioned again. Was that something that?
Well, I didn't have to wait in line for that either. I just
Yeah.
because again they knew who we were,
Hmm.
and my manager called or they called him, and I went and I auditioned for the
Yeah.
producers and these English people because the show's like from England or something.
Yeah. Yeah. America's Got Talent. You're right. Everybody there's from another country. Yeah. Um.
So yeah, I auditioned for these English people. Maybe there was an American in there too,
Yeah.
but and then they said, okay, well, we'll have you back to audition for. First, you have to audition for the producers, and then if they approve you, you can go and audition for the Howard Stern and at the time this was
Yeah.
who was there? Howard, Howie, Mel B,
Yeah. The
and
the, the model, right?
Heidi.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you go up in front for them. So yeah, that's what happened.
Now you going onto the AGT stage, what was that experience like with the stage fright? And now you're in a room of
Very
1,000 people.
frightening.
Well, how did you keep it
Horrible.
to? How did you keep it
I don't
together?
know. I just did. I don't know how, but it was very, very scary. And
Yes, I give
somehow
you all
I
the
did.
credit in the
I don't
world.
know, but
Because not
people
only that, but
they couldn't tell. But I'll tell you, no. And when I do, I get nervous too. When I do any TV, I get very nervous.
yeah.
Letterman, Conan, and all that shit. That was terrible.
What about crashing, where you're playing a character of yourself, where
Well,
it's
that's
like,
easy. I couldn't have been less nervous with crashing. If I like I said, if fuck it up, do it again.
yeah, yeah,
Fuck it up a
okay,
second time, do it a third time.
okay.
Fuck it up a third time, four times a charm. Uh, I mean, it's so much easier in terms of that.
Yeah. Now, with AGT, because there's the added stress. Because when you're performing stand up, even if you perform stand up in a theater, the same amount of people, there's not
Well, you add
there's
to that, you first
the
of all, you're
buzzing.
performing in front of thousands of people. On the live shows, you're performing in front of literally millions of people that are watching at
Yeah,
home, and then you got to stand there while somebody that doesn't know much
yeah,
tells you, "Well, I didn't
yeah.
think
You
it
have a
was
model
good."
from Germany telling you
Yeah,
exactly.
whatever it was. So, and then getting voted on, and then you got to come back the next day
Yeah,
and stand there, and you know you're getting voted off. I mean, generally speaking, you know, if it didn't go well, you're getting voted off. But that's not good enough. You got to come back
yeah,
and take it, and stand there and get voted off. You can't,
yeah.
you know.
And then you
Yes,
like
theoretically,
last comic.
you could have just not shown up.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, I guess they would have sued you, but you know, but you just got to, you know, you're getting voted off, but you got to come back. It's not the same day.
Hmm.
Typically,
Yeah.
you come back the next day, get in hair, get in makeup, you know,
Yeah.
all that shit.
Just to stay on the stage.
Do a,
Yeah.
do a rehearsal. Well, okay, you because there's a rehearsal, there's a procedure
Yeah.
for the days when they're voting, where you got to come out and you stand in a certain spot and this and
Yeah.
that, and you got to go have a rehearsal,
Hmm.
hair, make all just to get voted off. Horrible.
Yeah, that's how,
Absolutely a miserable experience. Did
no,
it help me? Yes.
yeah. I said,
You
was
know,
the payoff worth it?
and yes, I suppose it was, but it was awful. I, now other people might
But you
not.
did again. Like
Other
last comic
people,
standing, you went back for more for the championship round.
well, no, but that wasn't that they invited me back and said, "This is the champions. You're a
Yeah.
champion. We're gonna treat you like gold because you're one of the champions. It's a celebration."
Yeah. Was that
And then,
better?
well, but then Simon buzzed me, and then I got voted off. But so you know, it wasn't fun, you know. But I don't,
Would
you know, but no, not everybody is hates it as much as I do. You know, some
Yeah.
people, you know, I got voted off, whatever. I got some publicity, and it helped my career. And they didn't have the same horrible experience, but I really, to me, it was
Yeah.
not fun at all.
Would you do reality TV again if offered?
No, I mean, yeah,
Okay.
I can't say never because I've done it so many times, but I think we're at the end of that. I think that that's over.
I don't
Yeah,
know,
I don't
man.
think
Dan,
I'll do it again.
I would love anything. I would love to see anything with you on TV as you, because I just think you're just super, just awesome as a comic and insightful in so many ways. In the book, it's it comes off that Ira is uncomfortable with like praise and admiration. Like he doesn't turn it down. Like he's always willing to like take that picture or say hi to that fan or whatever. But it's not like a top like thing.
Well,
It's not like he
that,
enjoys doing. Is that something like you? When I sit here and tell you, Dan, like I
and
really
that's
like.
another thing that Ira and I have in common.
Oh, okay. So it's
I
uncomfortable when
don't
I tell you how much I appreciate
It's
you as a
not the
comic.
greatest thing. I don't love it. I don't you know, it's not necessarily that I dislike it. It's just it's whatever. It's, you
What do
know.
you think? Do you think you're undeserving of that praise, or why do you get so uncomfortable
I
with
don't
that?
know. I don't know that I think I'm undeserving of it. I just I'm not sure what it is. I'm not sure what it is about it. I mean, you know, maybe I'd have to go on the couch and figure that out, which I'm not
Okay.
doing. But I'm sure there's a reason. But yeah,
What
that is something that I have in common with Ira. Is you know, ill at ease, I suppose, with
this book has what has what new things have happened in your life since writing this book that weren't part of your life before, like adventures or people that you've met, or what's something that's come out of this that you never saw coming? Because it's a great book.
I don't think anything other than the fact that now I know I'm capable of writing a book,
Yeah. Okay.
which is a big deal because it's given me a new avenue to now thinking of writing another book, and you know, it's like climbing a mountain that you just didn't think you're ever going to climb, and just whether it's a good book, it's not a good book. The idea of writing a book is
Yeah.
something I never thought I could even think of doing. And again, going back to high
Yeah.
school and thinking I got to write a 10-page paper, I can't even do that. I mean, I did it, but it's like, oh my God, 10 pages.
Yeah.
Holy, this is 300 pages. You know,
Well, I guess it's something like the stuff they were telling you to do in high school was just not interesting to you. This is stuff that you're interested in doing, so you're up to the
Yeah,
challenge.
but some of the same shit that was completely uninteresting then
Yeah.
became interesting, and I don't know
Okay.
why. Just you grow up, you get older, whatever. But I mean, in high school, I always wondered why they make you read those books that really, you
Yes,
know,
I felt the same thing.
why would a kid be interested in Dickens?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, this is not something. This is, you know, 19th century England, which has really no relevance to. Just, I mean, not to say it has no relevance, but
Yeah.
um,
Little relevance.
there's certainly no relevance to a high school kid.
Yeah.
Maybe it would be better to get kids reading shit they liked, even if it wasn't literature, but at least it's a
Yeah.
book.
Yeah. It would get them into that. Yeah. And hope,
Get them
yeah.
into
I
reading.
remember having to read Walden Pond. I wanted to bang my head against the wall after reading that thing. But
Yeah, I mean,
what
I read Portrait of the Artist as a young man, and
yeah.
they made me read it. I'm like, oh my God, you know. I'm not doubting that Joyce was a brilliant man, but
Yeah.
I cannot get through this thing. I know it's me, but I know, you know, I'm
Yeah.
sure it's brilliant. That's what they all say. But I'm 16 years old.
Yeah.
I can't fucking get through this thing.
You've mentioned that like I really want to do more. I really want to be more in movies and film and not that made no sense. Film and TV and have my comedy be more widely known or more widely known than it already is. What is the essential part that you're seeking? Is it the fame or is it just the confirmation that everyone
Recognition, you know, yeah,
okay
do something well. You want. So this is a contradiction because I said, well, I'm
yeah I was,
uncomfortable with praise,
yeah I was
but
about to
yet
just say
I'm
that
comfortable with no praise as well.
yeah
So these are two forces kind of that butting heads. But
yeah
you know,
like you want validation more so than praise.
validation. I
You
mean,
want validation.
obviously, and that would come with more money too,
Yeah,
which is great, you know. But you know, the validation is it just so happens that it would come with money,
yeah,
and that would be a nice side benefit.
yeah.
But it's
Okay.
more the validation, you know.
Well, Dan, this has been just fascinating and quite the honor. I'll keep the praise to a bare minimum. So not to, but this has been a bucket list item that I am just happy that you are willing to go along with me. I had such a great time talking to you, and thank you for letting me pick your brain.
Thank you, and the book is available on Amazon. Ira
Yes,
Spiro before COVID. So
absolutely. Get it. It's an awesome book. Get it. I have a copy and I'm not giving it away. So get your own book. So, um,
okay, thank
but
you, and
Dan,
see you on social media.